AM 970 WSTX.
Long time ago, I was into computers. Back in the day when people used to cut up the eye at me and tell me, you think everybody got a computer in their house? Now everybody got a computer in their So we've come a long ways. And these little computers that we call the iPhone, the Android, whatever, do so much for us. But whether it's computer, phone, tablet, there's so many ways in which government can serve us that these can be effective tools. So today our subject is going to be along those lines, and we have a guest here. I'm going to let him introduce himself and talk about this because I am all ears. Because when I just hear these things, like I'm in heaven, kind of. Because anything that is going to improve our quality of life, if it could also help us make money too, and in some cases get our money back quicker too. All right, sir. So it's all yours. Go ahead and introduce yourself and let's carry on.
Good morning, Doug. I'm glad to be here, and morning to the listener and viewing audiences. My name is Anthony David Thomas. I am the Commissioner of the Department of Procurement. I am glad to be here, and I'm glad to be sharing. I think Doug made a very valid point. It's been 20 years since some of this technology has been implemented or introduced. And in the Virgin Islands, we use a lot of paper processes or manual processes, and those propositions are very expensive. During the January 2019 State of the Territory address, the governor made it clear that his desire was to digitize our government operations. He made it clear in his State of the Territory on January 13th that he was a digital governor and that he was interested in sharing that we had finally gotten to the place with the Department of Property and Procurement of managing contracts electronically. And I think it's important that the community understands what that is and what it means. It's a big step for the Department of Property and Procurement. It has been one that has been long coming. And it allows us to be much more efficient, more accountable, and reduces the cost in which we operate. So that's good for the government as a whole. The Virgin Islands Department of Property and Procurement has in its entity a couple of services, those being procurement, transportation, printing, central stores, and so forth. But the importance of transitioning to an electronic model for operating in contracting has created an environment for more success, a place for us to build upon that creates an environment that transforms the way business is conducted. So when we say that we're moving to an electronic process in contracting, just think about it. A process that may have taken 3 or 4 days just to deliver 4 contracts, 70 pages each, now takes a second. It's partnering with our technology within the government that allows us to invite individuals into a system, a SharePoint system, that allows them to work on a contract internally. And once they close out, the next person gets the ball and runs with it. I think it's important to understand that finding the right solution to a problem has always been something that's been challenging for anyone in any organization. And today, I can clearly say that a lot of the challenges that we have faced, contracts take too long, the process is too cumbersome, vendors can't be paid. Those are symptoms of a problem that existed within the structure of the government. So we designed what we call the Office of Procurement, Contract Management and Reporting, what we like to call the OPCMR. Because the OPCMR is a system designed to train Virgin Islanders, to give them the professional skills needed and the technical expertise to be able to manage the contract processes from beginning to end. We have so far successfully trained over 30 offices within the government with procurement professionals, individuals that we felt were doing the job all the time but needed that additional support and training to get the job done. So we didn't go to the outside job. We invested in our own. We invested in the people that's been working. And we found it that they were excited. You know, it's like you're in the desert and you need water to drink. And you finally got to the oasis and wow, You know, this contracting thing is excited. I'm finally understanding what to do, and that allowed us to create and transition into a electronic model, because now the people begin to understand what to do. They are understanding how this thing works and why it's important. Um, I think more so that we're getting $8 billion into the territory, and I don't like to say we're getting. I like to say, to help the public understand, we qualify for at least $8 billion because of the two Category 5 storms that we experienced. Nobody's handing out anything to us. We qualify, being part of the U.S. territory. This is one of the responsibilities of what FEMA HUD does in disaster-related issues, to support the rebuilding and the design of an infrastructure that can take on the next disaster that's heading our way.
Okay. Well, I'm excited because when you just started there a second ago, I said this guy reading my mind, reading my mind, and I'm glad that you mentioned that we have to we're qualified for receiving the funds. And one of the critical things is that we have to be able to fill out an application and get it to them. And likewise, the people who have to feed us the information have to know what it is they have to feed to us to get to them to make the money to flow. All right, and so that's all important. But you mentioned a word there, training, right? And internal training is important because it's part of the transition. You have to train your people so that the people don't become the bottleneck. Okay, in that sense. But one of the things that I just want to throw out to you that you might want to just look at is training for the community. And I'll give you an example, one outside of property and procurement, and then come back to property and procurement. Our Lieutenant Governor has headed up the transformation where you can do a lot of the business things online. And in essence, we had to work through the kinks of educating ourselves, because for the most part, either you were right or you were wrong, and you really didn't have any place to go and look at how to do it. So it was a process where people have to work through it. And if there could be a way where, in the case of now with contracts, for those most common vendors that you have, if there's such a thing, that there could be kind of like a video showing someone who wanted to do this type of business and the form and fill it out and so forth and so on, so that they could be familiarized and these things are scary to some people. So you got to do all you can to make them feel comfortable so that they'll do what they have to do and not procrastinate, not wait till the last minute and then pull out their hair in the process.
So what's important to me in what you stated is that we have used technology in its, I don't want to say in its, in the simplest form. Mm-hmm. We have a website, you get on there, you get information, you're able to see what's going on. But now, because of the digitization of the government intent for the public structure of operations, we're looking at websites now that you can do more with. So the training, the downloading of forms, fillable forms, videos, how to do business with the government. All of this now is we're developing it. And I would introduce you to it. I want you to be one of the first to look at it when we get there.
I'd love to see.
Because that's really the issue that we have had with trying to resolve this understanding that technology is really not the enemy. Technology, the system is burdened right now financially, primarily because of the way we operate. And we have to figure out that there is a better way, there is an easier way, there's a more cost-effective way to make things happen. And I just am pleased to be part of this team because the leader, he is driven by technology, and I like that. It's time. They've been processing contracts electronically for the last 20 years.
Well, let me share a little bit of humor with you, right?
Okay, go ahead.
I have a very good friend, an artist, and I'm not going to call their name to protect the innocent. But from time to time, they would come to me and they would want some digital work done in the area of music in particular, and they would always bring me a CD. And so this person just happened to be a horse lover. Okay, from horse racing to raising a horse, to everything, training the whole 9 yards, right? So I sat down and said, you don't jump in a car and come over here, right? You don't take the horse. You don't take the horse because the car is a quicker, more efficient way, right? So I explained, I said, well, when you bring the CD to me, you bring me a horse to work with. and then I introduced them to a flash drive, and I said, this is a car. So whenever you come back, I say, you bring the car?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, and we have a good laugh about these things.
You know what's funny to me, Doug, is that we do it every day with the cell phone. But when you put a computer in front of someone, then it becomes like it's so, mystical. But they do it on their phone every day. But, it's true that, there's a learning curve and we're working. So I have, within the Department of Property and Procurement structure with electronic contracting, I have to go to a serious point. Because we had to develop what we call the Office of Vendor Maintenance. And the manager in there, she invites people in regularly, she sits them down, she helps them to go through the process of getting a SAMS registration, a DUNS number. She spends time on the phone, she emails the instructions, and this is all free. But the issue is that there is a huge connection to the efficiency of contracting and the vendors or those businesses that provide the services for the government. And that connection is their ability to recognize the need for keeping their business licenses up to date, keeping their business documents in order, registering for SAMS and getting your DUNS number. Because $8 billion, I don't know if we recognize it or not, is going to touch every corner of our territory.
Oh yes.
And because we are the ones that are responsible for ensuring that the system is accountable, we can't allow anyone to be in the system. Because when we approve you to become a vendor, we are actually saying to the financial community that this individual has access to any funding the Virgin Islands government has. And if you have access, just the mere point that you have access generates a challenge to a financial institution or the financial structure. You hear the quote, the weakened financial structure of the Virgin Islands. It creates that level of a lack of accountability in making sure that the right provisions are in place to protect the funding, whether it's local funding, whether it's federal funding, it does not matter. Once we give you access to the system, you have access to the money. Thereby, you need to be able to be evaluated appropriately to ensure that the funds that you're receiving it in good faith, and we are establishing a good faith structure to allow that to happen.
Yeah. Well, it sounds exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. Another thing that I thought of also that in working with various nonprofits, and sometimes that's an education process in itself within the group, because very often they know what they want to do as an organization and all of that. They have their goals, they have their structure in place and everything to make it happen.
Correct.
But then they realize that, wait, no, I got to have this, I have to have that, I have to have the other. And you mentioned, for instance, the DUNS number, and I've recently gotten to crossing paths with that.
There you go.
And just as the same thing as you need to have your 5013C, you need to have your letter of good standing, and to whatever extent that there can be some type of public service announcement that if you're going to be in business, it's a good idea to have A, B, C, X, Y, Z. You don't do business with the government now, but what if a grant comes up that requires you to partner with government and da 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 da? What if this comes up? It's good to have this checklist of things. And it's we come back to to technology again and training because you know I had this told to me. I said I don't need no dumb phone.
No.
And it was really the resistance to technology and the quote unquote smartphone. Now they have one and they love it. But it's just one of those things where there's all of these changes that are going on, and to make people comfortable with it in a way. So to the extent that you're doing that, I commend you, and I just offer those things as suggestions because when you listen to the radio and you watch TV, in terms of public service announcement, most of the types that you hear have to do with, fasten your seatbelt.
Correct.
Okay, don't do this, don't do that. Well, we got some proactive things we need to do that go to the fabric and quality of life in the community. And so, to the extent that you can harness those things, we have the government channel, we have the radio, we have this. And I want to tell you that the next time that property and procurement is bringing in all the top acts from all over the world to the Virgin Islands, right? Make sure you send the information to WSTX first, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I know you don't do that, but yeah. So I was really, really pleased, that I got this opportunity this morning for us to sit and talk about this. So people, just know that the time is coming, and things are happening. You have an administration here that's pushing for digital in a qualitative way, not just to make the change that you could say, well, we have a website. No, we have a website that could help you from training to more information or whatever. Another area that I'm excited about and I'm looking forward to having here in the studio is Department of Motor Vehicles.
Okay.
They're doing some fantastic things there also in terms of getting rid of redundant things that made sense back in the days of Hassan Khan.
Correct.
But we're not back in those days anymore.
Agreed.
A simple thing like when you buy a brand new car, that car doesn't become eligible for being inspected until it's 5 years old. I mean, wow. In that context, and to get to the point where you can pay for your registration, and I say government should never put obstacles in terms of receiving money. Okay?
Understood.
So if you pay me for your registration, but you have this technicality like a light that you have to fix, okay, well you pay, here's your receipt, you come back with the stamp from the guy who inspects to make sure you got it fixed, and then I just give you everything you need. In the meantime, the money was sitting there in the government drawing interest and doing all that good stuff, and the onus is on the person who wants the service completed because of things that they have to do. Okay, so yeah, every opportunity that we can get to take away the obstacles. Now, I want to throw out an idea to you here, that something that I've thought about for many years and discussed many years. We have cashiers in all these different locations, and if the various types of transactions that you can do at a department, there was a department code, a division code, a subdivision code if necessary, a transaction code where you have the list of type of things, and complete with a miscellaneous or whatever if there's something that's doesn't merit having a designation, that you could then fill out a form to pay for whatever it is and go to any cashier and pay, and based on the form and the codes, everything, the money goes to the appropriate department in terms of the system of accounting. But if their office was in Christiansted and you live in Fredericksted, you didn't have to drive all the way up to Christiansted just to do that. Okay?
So I think that you allow us to properly measure the importance of technology. Some of the cities or the states that we're talking in terms of have 5 million people. The Virgin Islands have 100,000 people, and this concepts and processes and operations you're talking about, if it could work there, it could definitely work here. And I could say to you that the team that the administration put together, I know the commissioner of the Department of Finance is working on a solution to to embrace exactly what you just said. I'm not going to rain on his parade.
No,
I'm going to let him share whatever he's doing. But you know, every government project comes through the Department of Public and Procurement.
Exactly.
I'm privy to everything. But I really want to share that technology is working for us in so many ways, and we have not gotten to the point where we're able to properly drill down. So I am putting a tracking system in every vehicle, every government vehicle, and we tested like 15 systems, both in St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, and they work well. They work so well, they allow us to manage the 60% of the vehicles in the fleet that need more maintenance, because we're able to bring them in. We're able to measure their speed limit. We're able to address most of those abuse that happens during the working hours. You know, a certain vehicle is assigned to do certain things, and they're not supposed to be outside of a certain perimeter. Some vehicles are allowed to go to the beach because of the services they provide for the people. Some vehicles are not. So we're able to establish a system using the same GPS technology that is available to us to help us manage the fleet, because people talk a lot about the expense of a purchase, but the true value in procurement terms, the true value of any purchase is the use in which you get out of the product. And so for me, the law extending the life cycle is properly managing the asset, and technology is going to give us the opportunity to do that. So within the next 60 days, we should have all the cars outfitted, and then we're going to start sharing with the public what it is we're doing, what is happening, and we want you to see exactly what we see, because we want to be transparent. It's not about hiding anything.
No, I agree with you 1,000%, and that also has other um, other uses, that one of which is, you kind of mentioned on it, was maintenance. Um, and you know, when somebody tell me a car costs too much, but when you look at what all you can do if you don't have a car, you really come to the realization that you can't afford not to have a car. But then when you go a step further and you look at that car will break down because of what all you do have to do. That and this translates over into places like WAPA and Public Works, where they have those heavy duty vehicles going, and so they purchase a vehicle, run the heck out of it, and then when it broke down, you have to wait for parts or whatever. They have nothing to put in place, and so it lets them look at the bigger picture and say, you know what, we can't afford not to have a truck for the road and a truck as backup. So we could plan to take the truck on the road out for maintenance and have the other one out there in the meantime. And I say that, and for my short time at WAPA, relatively short time at WAPA, that's a big consideration for those lineman trucks.
Correct.
You see two lineman crews on one truck is because a truck down and they don't have anything to replace it with. So, yeah. So I really appreciate what it is that is coming down the pike. It's coming now, is coming midway, because all of it can't be done all at one time. Just like the training takes time, you have to go through that process, the implementation itself, and then as we go to revise it to make it better serve what it is we set out to do. All right. Well, I appreciate if you would, just check in with me every now and then when you have minor, major developments of substance to the community, and let's keep them abreast of what's going on. I'm going to say that one of the greatest challenges is the communication of what's going on.
Correct.
There's too much of people forming opinions based on
what they
not knowing.
Agree. But we have our marching orders. We're to be accountable and transparent. It's important that as Virgin Islanders we recognize that we didn't do everything right, but we didn't do everything wrong either. And we need to understand that change is necessary. We have a bright future ahead of us. We have many things to be proud of. We are people that's very resilient. But we have to be honest about doing what is right so that it is not taken away from us or challenged by other approaches to a way of life. I cherish the quality of life we have as Virgin Islanders. But because of the disasters we experience, there's a lot of funding coming in. I don't think people understand $8 billion, right? It's a huge amount of money. But if we cannot use this money properly for the people of the Virgin Islands, then what good is it?
Exactly.
It is our responsibility as leaders within the community to do right by the people of the Virgin Islands.
And properly also translates into timely.
There you go.
And this
we
technology is
That's
necessary to make sure that it is timely.
We are here to do what's right, sir.
When we look at issues like the hospital, a lot of folks don't understand, and you know, politics is politics, right?
Correct.
And the reality is that there is nobody in these Virgin Islands that could put a hospital down on St. Croix in the next 6 months.
No.
It can't happen.
It don't happen.
Physically, it can happen in terms of the permits and everything. But even before you get to that, the funding that has to be allocated and there that you can draw down to move forward with, all of this was paperwork that we're trying to translate into electronic work that can speed up the process. But in the meantime, you know, you make your back broad. We don't have a new hospital yet, and you're going to continue to get your licks about that because it just comes with the job, right?
Of course.
But the important thing is that you're doing this groundwork to not only make it happen, but hopefully in the future, the response could be even that much quicker because we'll have an infrastructure that's
able to manage it. Yes. So we are the Department of Property and Procurement, and we're keeping the people's house in order. And Doug, the house always wins.
All right. Good thing. All right. Well, on behalf of WSTX, I want to thank you for coming in here and sharing with us. And we're happy to be at Portal out to the community as well as the other media that's out there. And just know that the doors are wide open.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Yes, folks, there you have it. Lots of interesting and important things happening in the world of technology that's going to help these Virgin Islands to advance, to be able to have a better quality of life.